Project Cost Management. Course Objectives. In this section of your course, you will learn and understand the importance of project costs and financials, learn the basic project costs, financial principles, key terms, and concepts, and discuss the process and methods for preparing them. This video will give you a quick overview of project costs.
Today we're talking about the basics of project cost management. Well, there's so much to say about cost on projects, but today I want to focus on three areas. I want to talk about why it's so important, I want to talk about what it really is, and then I want to provide some tips that I found helpful for me in managing the cost of my projects. Well, first of all, let's talk about why it's so important. Well, it's important because by using cost management on your project, it helps you to set the baseline for your project cost. And then therefore, that governs the actions you take to keep the budget on track. So ultimately, what we're doing is we're trying to prevent going over budget. But if we don't use it, here's some things that could happen. The company might lose money because some of the costs could exceed the project, and also could cause your customers to be invoiced incorrectly. So let's look at what cost management really is. Well, cost management is a process for managing your cost of your project, and it includes estimating your cost. So all the cost on your project so that you get a detailed list of all the estimates at a task level. Then you take that and you develop your project budget. So the deliverable is you have your project budget that you baseline all your cost again at the task level. And you take that and it's used to control the spending for your project. So you ultimately have a set of action steps you take to keep on track. So let's look at a project budget template. So when we look at this, we look at the project and we have all the tasks or even maybe some subtasks. What we look at the labor, material cost, and all of the costs. So the labor is measured in how many hours for that task and how much we're paying per hour. The task may have some kind of material cost where we measure that in units and there is a dollar cost per unit. Then we have other costs like maybe your travel cost, maybe any kind of equipment or space, and any other fixed or miscellaneous cost. Then at the task level, you have your budgeted amount, and as you track along the way, you ultimately get to what it actually costs for that task. So in the end, every task, and even at the full project level, you look at where you come out. Like, are you under budget or you over budget at the task level and at the project level? And again, we're looking to go under budget. So there are a few things I want to point out on the template. So some costs are easier to collect. Some of those look like your labor cost or even your consulting fees, maybe your raw materials or even software license, and even your travel cost. And then some of the costs may change or they may be shared among other projects or they may even carry over to other projects. And some of those look like your telephone charges, maybe even your office space or office equipment, maybe your general administration, and your company insurance. So let's look at some tips on how you can improve managing your cost. Well, first of all, you want to plan for inflation. If you happen to have a project that is short in duration, it may not be as impacted by inflation, but if an unexpected event occurs, it could impact the inflation on your project. And again, if you have a longer project in duration that spans a couple of years, inflation may impact it. It may even make your costs increase or it may cause them to decrease. You also want to account for natural disasters. And we've all probably been impacted, or we know people who have been impacted by these natural disasters that can cause your cost or even may impact some of the resources on your project. So you also want to account for any other potential events. For instance, some industries are impacted maybe by union labor or any kind of strikes or things that go on. So you also want to include unexpected costs, and some of those may look like some legal fees maybe you didn't anticipate, or any kind of penalties. Maybe in certain industries they sometimes get penalties, and even labor costs. For instance, if for any reason you need a subject matter expert, those costs may be more than you anticipated. You also want to track these in real time so you can respond promptly, because what we know is if any deviations happen, they tend to compound and impact your project negatively. So you also want to size and scale accordingly. So some people think maybe they're small projects, they don't really have to do cost management, but any kind of deviations can really impact their budget negatively. And then large projects, what you want to do is you want to do your cost management, and typically at a greater level of detail. But both.
After watching the video, you will have learned that project cost management is a critical project element, and meeting project budgets is a broad objective of all projects. Project management is a series of activities for estimating, allocating, and controlling costs within the project. It allows determining and approving a budget for the project and controlling spending. For example, in construction project cost management, it is vital to estimate cost of materials, equipment, salary of workers, etc. In IT project cost management, it is critical to estimate costs of software development, salary of IT staff, etc. Key terms. Here are some key terms that are important to know when working with project cost management. Cost overrun. This is the actual cost that exceeds the estimated cost in the budget, also known as cost increase or budget overrun. Estimation. In a project context, estimation is the way to make accurate budgets or timelines for a project. There are various techniques in estimating to help you get the most accurate predictions of cost and time. Actual expenditure, the sum of costs paid from a budget. Analogous estimating. This technique uses historical project data to prepare time and cost estimates. It is considered the most inaccurate estimation technique. Bottom-up estimating. This calculation computes total time and cost estimates for projects by preparing individual estimates for each of a project's activities and adding them together. Bottom-up estimating is considered the most accurate estimation technique. Cost-benefit analysis. A cost-benefit analysis is used to weigh project costs against anticipated tangible project benefits. Opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of a particular course of action is the loss of potential gains from all alternative courses of action. Total cost of ownership. The total cost of ownership estimates the sum total of direct and indirect costs incurred in the purchase, operation, and maintenance of an asset through its life. Project cost types. There are several types of project costs. The following three are the most commonly used in project management. Variable and fixed. Variable costs vary based on the amount of output, while fixed costs are the same regardless of production output. Examples of variable costs include labor and the cost of raw materials, while fixed costs may include lease and rental payments, insurance, and interest payments. Direct and indirect. Direct costs are costs that can be directly attributed to a specific project, such as labor, raw materials, and equipment rental costs. Indirect costs are costs that cannot be directly attributed to a specific project, such as management, general admission, rental, and utility costs. Opportunity. Opportunity cost is the loss of potential future return from the second best unselected project. Estimation process. The process of cost estimation determines an amount of resources required to accomplish project activities. It involves the approximation and development of costing alternatives to plan, perform, and deliver the project. It focuses on finding and allocating optimal expenses for the job. The process is vital to determining whether the project will be successful, whether the goals and objectives will be achieved, and whether the deliverables will be produced. The scope is developed and on budget and on schedule. The quality expectations are met, and the expected benefits are received by stakeholders. Cost management plan. This plan details how project costs will be planned, funded, and controlled. It is a part of the project management plan. To do so, develop the project scope and execution strategy. This provides the basis for the integrated cost management process, which also covers the subject of schedule planning, cost estimating and budgeting, resource planning, value analysis and engineering, risk management, and procurement planning. There are 4 steps to know for cost management. 4 steps to cost management are resource planning, cost estimating, cost budgeting, and cost control. Problems that occur with cost estimates. Like other variables in project management, there can be problems that can occur. Some problems in cost management include the following: quantifying cost impacts, resource constraints, quality of available data, and consistency. What's next? Please take the quiz to test your comprehension of project cost management by minimizing this video and clicking on the button at the right corner of the web page labeled Quiz.